Insecurity is a very fascinating thing to me. Whenever I look at my own insecurities or when I look at other people's insecurities, and not only just the insecurities, but also the defense mechanisms that follow the insecurities, um, people are just fascinating creatures. This is one of the reasons why I love psychology so much, and specifically in this case, clinical psychology. It's such a fascinating area of study. People, human behavior is such a fascinating area of study. Trauma and trauma responses, and as a result of that trauma and those trauma responses, defense mechanisms are such a fascinating area of study. I know that I made a video maybe 2 weeks ago on how like somebody's entire life could just be one massive defense mechanism, and I really explored how like, they go into a job interview and they get rejected, and then because of the rejection, you know, a defense mechanism happens. Maybe it's denial. Oh, I didn't fucking want that job anyway. Who the fuck needs that, right? Just kind of defend against the pain. It's painful for the ego to be rejected for some people. Um, you know, what's fascinating to me is invalidation, specifically when it comes to trauma. Even more specifically, childhood trauma. I mean, I don't think it's confusing at this point that that's what I've been talking about. When I talk about trauma, I'm referring to mental, emotional, psychological trauma, childhood trauma, right? Um, I've been invalidated. I've had people tell me that my trauma is not is less than. Um, at least one person, I know that for a fact. You know, it's such a strange thing to just simply invalidate somebody. It's a strange way of going about things. And I think that we do it because we are insecure, or maybe because I don't know. I'm not entirely sure I know why. I Yeah, I've found myself invalidating I realized that not too long ago, actually. I may have done it myself. And see, so I want to make it very clear that yes, I'm aware of my trauma. Yes, I'm on my journey of healing. Yes, I am an imperfect human, as we all are. I've got nooks and crannies just like the fucking tree over there does. I don't anticipate myself being perfect because that is a standard that is unattainable. There's no such thing. And when I recognize, and by the way, with that imperfection comes things like Chris invalidating people, and then hopefully waking up and being like, whoa, I invalidated somebody. And then being like, whoa, let's not do that, because then invalidation, it voids intimacy, whether in a relationship with somebody, platonic or romantic. It doesn't matter who it is. Invalidation fucking sucks. It really does, because from my honest opinion, it is an indicator of insecurity, you know. Um, it's an indicator of a lack of self-awareness. When you invalidate somebody else, what I believe that you're really doing is invalidating yourself, based on all of the other people that have invalidated you, you know. What does it feel like when you're invalidated? What does it feel like? I know what it feels like for me. It feels like somebody is crossing off your existence based on your experience. You become obsolete. It's funny, there's I don't know if any of the viewers on my channel have ever watched The Twilight Zone. There's an excellent episode of The Twilight Zone. I'm not entirely sure I remember what episode it is, like what it's called, but it's basically about a librarian that becomes obsolete, which is fascinating because the Twilight Zone predict so much of our day and age, you know. And I'm not saying that the librarian has become obsolete. I don't think that books will ever become obsolete. I love them, and I know a lot of other people love them, but obsolete and invalidation kind of go hand in hand, right? If somebody invalidates your trauma, you kind of feel like your trauma becomes obsolete, and it also depends on how much of an impact and influence that person has in your life. It's just so fascinating, you know, invalidating somebody's trauma. It's such a fascinating thing. You know, somebody opens up their heart to you and they tell you about their life. They tell you about something that happened earlier on in their life that really fucked them up. that was my visual representation of scathing and marring. Let me try to get a little bit scarier. You know, just the disfiguring. It doesn't really matter what it is that happened. You just got fucked up. Something traumatized you and it fucked you up. And then you share that with somebody else and then they fuck you up by invalidating your fucked upness. You know? It's and me laughing, I don't know if that in and of itself is a defense mechanism. I know that I have laughed at things in the past and I have found out that was a defense mechanism. But it's fucked up to get fucked up, and then it's also fucked up to have your fucked upness get fucked up with invalidating fucked upness. I hope that made sense. I tried to make that make sense. But, you know, invalidating people, in terms of intimacy, shit, intimacy goes right the hell out the window. Just like that. People want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to be felt, and when I say felt, I don't mean just physically, I mean, you know, like, it's what validation is all about, you know? You know, there's somebody that I know, I'm not going to name any names, but this person is what I would argue to be, good at validating, right? It's not really hard. And I learned this recently. I mean, it's not really hard to validate somebody, but I think that you have to feel like you're being seen, felt, and heard yourself. You know, when somebody when somebody invalidates you, regardless of whatever it's for, whether it's for trauma, you know, you just opened up your heart, or it's just for like whatever. That says everything about them and nothing about you, which is why it's important to make sure you know exactly who it is that you're dealing with when you're opening up, right? Because I have opened up to people and they've used it against me. I have. Yeah, I have. And then it's like, oh wow, okay, well, that surprised me. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to have a relationship with that person anymore. I'm not going to tell them things anymore. Yeah, invalidation, if you do it to other people or if other people do it to you, it's not fun. It's really not. And, you know, any times that I have invalidated people in my life, I really do hope that I wake up from all the times. Like, I did recently when I invalidated somebody and I realized that I did. It's like yeah, let's not do that. Let's again, it's really just an inward journey. You know, if you find yourself invalidating people, I think it's best to look at yourself. Why are you invalidating people? I wouldn't say that anybody's experiences of life should be invalidated. I think that people should be listened to. But again, to also go back to my other video that I made, I believe it was last week, on emotional containing. It's nobody's job to emotional contain. You can choose to. I should say emotionally contain. There we go. The act of containing somebody's emotions, being the emotional container. Yeah, you don't need to. Ask yourself why you are, if you are. You also don't have to do that either. You can full on Capitan go and do it. I was trying to say captain, by the way. Capitan. I forget where I heard that from. But yeah, invalidating people. We usually do it because we've been invalidated. We do it because we feel inferior. We feel insecure. And yeah.